Today I'm going to be showing you how I personally make scrunchies for my brand Olive & Bob. Up till now I've only been doing weekly studio vlogs showing you what I'm getting up to in the very small beginnings of Olive & Bob. But today I thought it would be a nice opportunity to show you how I make my scrunchies. I know everyone's got a different way of doing it, and I know there are hundreds of videos out on the internet of different ways to make scrunchies and how to make scrunchies. So this video will just probably be at the bottom of the pile of the videos that never get watched on the topic because there are so many on this topic. I am going to start off with making the Hamptons Author Scrunchie. This is a scrunchie that is quite popular. I love it as well. I have uniquely named all of my scrunchies. So we have the Hamptons Author, we have Mossy Comfort, we have Mademoiselle Belle, Obsidian Rose. They all have different names that my son and I named together. So I've got 2 meters of fabric over here. I think it is 1.5 meters wide. Yeah, okay. It's 1.5 meters wide. It actually might be 1.6 meters wide. But anyway, I like my scrunchies to be very scrunchy with lots of scrunches. So that's why I like to make it so wide. So basically the width of the fabric is from the selvage edge to the other one, like that. And then generally, if you've got a stretch fabric, this is the direction it'll stretch in. So what I like to do is to fold it so that I only have to do one cut. Sometimes I have to go over with an actual normal scissors. Let me move this lamp away because sometimes the roller blades get a little bit blunt. But what I like to keep on hand is these things over here, these clamps over here. They work like an absolute dream. You just fold it in half and then clamp it over here so that it doesn't go running off the table again. Okay, once you have it folded nicely, get it nice and straight on your cutting mat and then clamp it down. Let me move the situation around a bit. So once you have your fabric folded out, fold it in half and then again, so it's folded into quarters. You're just going to take your pattern. I use Corex board here to cut out my patterns. What I'll do is if I manage to get it right, I will link below a template for this scrunchie if you are interested. And if I can get it right, I'm not promising anything. Now what we want to do is want to get these skew bits off first. So you just want to check where it's kind of like ending over there. Okay, you can't see it on camera, but I've got the cutting mat here and I've basically lined up this to be in line with the line on the cutting board so that it can cut straight. Once you've done that, just make sure you got all the edges in and then we cut. I might have to grab the scissors to cut some pieces that might be sticking, but it seems like I pushed hard enough, so it doesn't look like... Oh, there's one that's pulling. Okay, here we go. Okay, there you go. There's all the scraps. So that's the puffy edges cut off now. So now you know that you want to move in this direction here. So I'm going to go to the other side of the table. Now that I've cut that raw edge off, now I know I can just go and cut in sections. I like to leave a little bit of space just to help with the seam a bit because I don't want it to get too narrow. So I leave out about 1/2 centimeter there. And then I just go down the line, cutting them out. Remember, leave a space so that you've got space for your seam. Okay, and we cut again. It's also a good idea to do this if you do cut a bit skew. These cutting mats are just the best invention ever. So I'm not going to cut out a whole bunch for today. I'm just going to cut this length out. That should be enough for now. Just so I've got some on hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to cut out 5 for now. So there, once that's done, we take the scissors and just make sure that all the little pieces that are still stuck together that didn't quite cut through, that you're cutting them away. You don't want to like pull it because if you do, especially if it's a satin or something, it'll cause a pull and you don't want that. And once that's done, you just fold and place on the pile and I'll continue the process. If you intend to stop cutting over there, but you've still got the fabric folded over the side of the table, then my suggestion to you is to fold it in the way that you've just cut it, so that when you come to cutting again, it's in the correct folding style. So you just need to open it up and you can cut again. It just makes life way easier, you know. Now we're going to move on to overlocking. Now when it comes to overlocking, I like to do the sides that I've just cut, because the last thing you want is for it to fray, because then it starts to pop open at the seams. So personally, I like to overlock, particularly with fabrics like satin. Then over here on these edges, when it's the raw edges here, I generally don't overlock that. I just leave it as is, because I don't want it to create too much thickness. If there are extra long hairs on the edge there, then I'll like snip those off to about this length as this one is now. But other than that, I'll just leave it as is, like that, the raw edges, and then just overlock the sides. So let's go to the overlocking machine. I like to use the same color cotton when I'm overlocking. I know it's something that you're not going to see from the outside. So if there's already white in the overlocker, then and I'm doing a cream, then I'll just leave it with the white. But if it's got the wrong color completely, like blue or black or something, then I will change it to the correct color of the scrunchie. Unless I'm doing a whole bunch of ones that are like a cream and white color, then I'll just put whatever color is most prevalent. But yeah, generally I like to keep the color of the overlocking the same as the fabric. It just looks so much more professional. And I know, like I say, I know you're not going to see it from the outside, but in my heart, I know what it is. And I don't know, I'm difficult like that. But anyway. And what I do often is I just hold it like this, and I make sure that the edge of the fabric is going along the edge of this. Then I know that it's going to be straight. But if I feel like I'm going a bit skew, then obviously I will adjust. And then as I get towards the end, then I will start moving my hands forward to make sure that it doesn't just slip out of my hand and go very skew. So there's the two edges done. I'm just going to finish up the rest of them, the other four, and then I will see you in my studio again. This is my mom's studio, to show you how I stitch them up. What else you can do is you can also literally just do it in a long line like that to save time. You can see how they are joined over here. Now what I do is I just go and cut off all the edges. All the overlocked edges. The easiest way to do it is like this. Snip and snip, snip and snip. Pull it over the shoulder and snip and snip. And then I'll fold them just to keep them nice and neat, and then we'll move over to the sewing machine. I beseech you now, when you come to doing the sewing part, please make sure that you use exactly the same color as the majority color on the scrunchie. So in this one, it's the cream, so I found this thread, which is not right. This one is definitely better. So between the two, I'm going for this one because it just finishes it off better. I know some people, they stick to either black or white, but I don't personally like the look of that. I like to have it looking as seamless as possible. And then I'm going to be using silk needles. I like to use silk needles for the chiffon, georgette, satins, because it's just gentler on the fabric. I've noticed if I use ballpoint on satin, it causes runs. So please make sure you're using the correct needle for your particular fabric. I'm going to bobbin up, and I just put the cotton away. Also, if you are new here, this is Miss Harriet Smith. She is my 1974 machine as far as I can remember. But the interesting thing about her manufacturing date is on the 19th of October. And my son was born on the 19th of October. So just a little bit of useless information for you. See, I'm taking the white out because there's no white in this scrunchie. It's cream. Also, heck, if you've got long nails and you struggle to get the cotton wrapped around, just put it on your bobbin holder and go, oh, now I'm failing, go like that. A couple of things I like to keep on hand as I'm doing this. Obviously, the fabric. I've got 2 of these clips. You'll see what I use those for just now. I have got this handy, which is a bodkin. I only have a metal one. And then this is cut to 23 centimeters long, and the edges have been burnt already, as well as my tag. You want to make sure that you're sewing raw edges together and that it is the correct way around. We're going to sew right sides together. As you can see, that's more the darker black than that, so this is the wrong way. So right sides are facing each other. Line it up nice and neatly. I'm going to do a back stitch and then go forward again. I generally use it as a guide, measuring, kind of eyeball it to make sure that that is the same distance going down. Then I'll stop about 3/4 of the way down. I'll take my label. I just put my CPL lens on so that we can not have a glare in reflection. So I'll take my label over here and I will put it in. I mean, you can eyeball it to make sure that it is in correctly. And then I generally push it so that it's flush against that, because then I know that it will be sewn in relatively straight. Once you've done that, you just complete the stitch. And down. Back stitch always. Okay, oops. Now, when I turn it around, you'll see that this label is sewn in pretty straight. And that is a nice hack for you guys. Okay, once you've done that, you want to sort of press open the seam like that. Flip it over. Now we're doing the burrito method. So what you do is, you've got it facing this way, fold it inside out with the raw edges facing the table. You're going to fold over one side of the top layer and then the other side of the top layer like that. Try to get it as narrow as possible. Then you're going to, I like to always make sure that this is in line. I know some people do it the other way with raw edges are facing you, but then I'm always nervous that this isn't going to line up. So I like to make sure that it is lined up nice and neatly, and then I will clip it in place there to make sure that it doesn't move. Then I'll actually start a little bit further away from it, say about that kind of distance. And I'll start stitching from that side. So I like to make sure that the fabric is right on the edge of the foot, okay? Then you just make sure that your needle isn't too close to the edge and too far in. So you want to make sure that it's sort of like just a little bit away from that overlocking. And also I like to hold it in line just a little bit further in front so that it doesn't, because what this fabric tends to do, it pulls away like this as you're stitching and then it goes skew, which is not nice. Stitch forward, back stitch, and then we continue going. And now I can put my speed of my sewing machine a bit higher and just go all the way around. When it gets to this section here, I like to back tack over that seam there, just so that that seam is a little bit stronger and that it doesn't open. I don't think it will, but I just like to be careful and do that. As you go through, you want to pull to bring the fabric through. Make sure that the needle is in the fabric when you are doing this, because otherwise you could pull it all out the machine and then, yeah, it's just irritating. It can be a bit of a challenge when it gets to that part that's joined together, but you can just use 2 hands and fix it up. Also, as you're stitching down here, make sure that you're not catching the other fabric that's on the inside of the scrunchie, because if you do that, then it's not going to feed through and your scrunchie will be ruined. Now you'll see as you go through, you've been pulling over here. Now it's starting to form like a tunnel. What you want to do is you just want to push some of this through like that, inside out still, and pull that inner tube inside like that. Okay, just so that you can have this nice and straight along here, because if you leave it hanging out, it's going to go a little bit wonky, because what you don't want is to get to this point and then you've got this kind of situation happening, and then you've got to like create a pleat there. It's happened to me in the past, which you can do. You can just create a small little pleat, but it's better to try and get it as straight as possible. Depending on how thick the fabric is, depends on how wide you're going to leave the hole. If it's thin fabric like this, I generally keep it about 2 centimeters wide. Remember to back stitch and trim. Then you're going to flip it inside out. I like to keep the hole as small as possible so that there's not too much stitching on the outside. Okay, and I always go from the side that's got the least, and then from there I go to the side that's got the most. And also a hack, if you do it right on the edge of the other side like this, and you pull from this side like that, and you basically like twist at the same time here, so you pull both ends, it comes through a lot quicker like that. And there you have it. Just remember where your hole is, because sometimes to find it is a bit of a challenge. So the way you thread this through will be different for everyone, because depending on what bodkin you have. But because I'm using this one, I like to clip the one end of the elastic on the opening like that. So I'll just clip it there, and then I will put the other side through the bodkin like that, and I'll just clip it closed with that to keep it attached, so that I don't have to try and hold the elastic in place. You know what I'm saying? I can just go like that, and then it's just a case of threading it through. This part is relatively quick. Previously I was using a short bodkin where you actually pull the elastic and it like grips the elastic between the metal, but that was taking a bit long, so I decided to use this one, and then I figured out I could do it this way with the clips, and then it works very well. Once it's through, be sure not to let go of the elastic, otherwise you're going to have to re-thread it and try to find the elastic inside. Okay, let's just twist it the right way around. Then I will tie a very gentle knot towards the end like that. Then I will put it on my wrist and see how that feels. It feels about right. If it feels a bit too tight, then I'll loosen it this way. If it feels too loose, I'll tighten it that way. But yeah, generally I'll make it a little bit wider, just so it fits comfortably on the wrist. Let's feel that. That feels great. Okay, this is what I like to do to try and keep it straight, because if you don't keep it straight, it can wrap around and then the sewing can go skew, and then it just looks puppies. So you want to keep it as nice and flush and as straight as possible. So I'll clip the one side, and then I will clip the other side. And then you can see it's nice and flush to go through the sewing machine. Obviously I keep a close eye on it as well as it's going through the machine, because I don't want it to slip. So rather do it on a slower mode and be careful than do it quickly, mess it up, and then have to unpick and do it again. So again, I like to I keep it a bit further away so that I can keep the pins in. So if the stitching starts here, I'll put the pin further back so I can still keep it in without having to remove it. You know what I mean? And once it looks like you've got it nice and straight in there, you can line it out however you feel you want to. I like to get the stitching right close to the edge of the thing. Back stitch, back stitch. And that was pretty beautiful, even if I say so myself. Nice and straight. See, it didn't go funny. It's just the right length in my opinion. Nice and neat and beautiful. And then you just straighten it out. And there you have it. Scrunchie is made and it is beautiful. I hope you found that helpful. I hope you, if you had any questions about making a scrunchie with the Burrito Method, I hope I answered it for you. But yeah, this is the scrunchie, and thank you so much for joining me. I will see you in the next vlog. Oh, and one more thing. If you found the little outfit that I was wearing very cute and interesting, I made it in vlog number 7. So if you want to go check that out, I will link it for you.